Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Essay Podcast. This is a space where I spill the tea on the real, the raw, what I'm moving through healing, learning, and manifesting, all with the intention of encouraging you to step into the next level version of you, because you are the ultimate healer, and everything you've been looking for, it starts within. Let's get into the episode. Yay! Welcome back to another episode of the Essay Podcast. This is episode number 2 and such a fun episode because we have bestie guest Samantha who has come onto the show. Why? Because we just came back from the Sainte Marie Gem Show in France, you guys. We flew all the way over there to hand select and source and bring back special crystals just for you. It was so much fun. And also what a wild adventure it was. You're going to hear all about it in the episode. We basically talk about our experience, what to expect, some behind the scenes, some synchronicities, crystals that we found, stories behind some of the pieces that we found, and tips and tricks just in case you decide to go to the gem show yourself. So basically, grab your tea, grab your coffee. Fair warning, it's a long one, but we have so much to share with you. And come hang out with us because this is basically what it feels like if you were sitting next to us having some kind of drink of choice. Okay, so anyways, let's do this. So excited to have bestie Samantha on the podcast. Yay! Okay, once again, if you didn't listen to the first episode, if you don't know, you don't know. This is Samantha. For real. And she came with me. It just so happened to align perfectly where she had a family trip the week after the gem show. So I was like, wait. And then the gem show in France was a week before, and I was like, wait, Samantha, you want to come to France with me because you speak French? And it'll be so fun, and Samantha loves adventures. So she was nice to come along, and yeah, I'm so excited. Yay! Okay, Samantha.
At first, I wasn't sure if we were on.
We are on.
But yes, hello, I am Samantha, the bestie, who goes on all the trips and all the adventures.
Okay, wait, but tell people what you do, though.
Okay, so as a mini background on me, I am a Reiki master, and I do readings and all sorts of other energetic healings, cards, you name it. And you can find me at Manta's Universe on Instagram and TikTok. I also have my own website, mantasworld.com, where if you are interested, you can purchase a service from me. But on the side, I love travel. I love learning languages, which is why Estine was like, you need to come with me. They speak French in France, and you know French. So can you come along?
Okay, I would say though, you could survive.
You can survive.
You can survive.
But it's really, it's like, yeah, you can survive anywhere. But at the same time, how well is it gonna work out? How easy it's gonna be? I would say a little bit goes a long way when it comes to at least knowing a little bit of like something, a little cultural thing, a little phrase, a bonjour, really gets you far.
Yeah, Samantha was like, this is how you act in
France,
basically.
Yeah.
She was like, you can't just walk in here
and just ask questions. You have to say hello first. Don't be rude.
Okay. Yes. First, let's talk about what is a gem show. A gem show is when you have a large space. Actually, no, it can be a small space, but it's just where a bunch of vendors come together and you can shop in real time, hand pick, see pieces in person, and my favorite thing is to hand pick ever because it's just 10 times better. And then you see things in person and you can meet new vendors, and these people come from all over the world. Brazil, Madagascar, Pakistan, China, Mexico. You just get to see thousands and thousands and thousands of crystals all at once. Like what you see online is just a very icing on the cake of what you see in real life. It's just so much. And then also, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Anyways, we want to talk about the differences between what a US show is versus the Sainte Marie gem show. So, for US shows, I've been to so many shows. I've been to so many shows in the US. I've been to New Jersey. I've been to Tucson. I've been to Denver. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to local shows. I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of crystals and sifted through thousands and thousands and thousands. This is so much I've seen.
A lot.
A lot.
So she knows.
So I just have had like experience over the past few years just going through and seeing what the difference is between those US shows and then now seeing the difference between the US and Sainte Marie. Okay, so tell us what your experience as Samantha was in being in the Sainte Marie gem show and what you think the difference is between Sainte Marie and Tucson.
So before I start, I just want to say that when we were asking people about what it's like being at Sainte Marie when we've never been, they would just say it's different. So we had no idea going into it what made it different. So for one thing, Tucson's the largest show in the world and Sainte Marie's the second largest. But even though it's the second largest, it's actually not that big. Compared to Tucson, the city is just smaller. Like when you imagine a French village, that it was the city it was in. So even though it took up part of the city, it was still like small. What made it the second largest show is that a lot of European businesses, European vendors who didn't want to go or couldn't go to the US or didn't want to travel to the US, they would go there. So there was just so many more people, mostly from Europe, going there. And the selection is slightly different. You still get some of those vendors who also go to the Tucson, people from Brazil, but also there was a lot of people who are only based in Europe and only went to Sainte Marie and maybe the Germany Munich show. So there were slightly different options. Sometimes you would hear, oh, agate from Germany, crystals from France. We don't always see crystals from like outside, like within Europe. So that was cool to see. I even saw crystals from Japan. And of course they probably have crystals, but you don't see that at Tucson. Like I saw rhodochrosite from Japan. So that was cool. Another thing is the atmosphere. It was like very picturesque. You were surrounded by hills, very green. The weather there, it was hot. Everyone was saying, oh, this is unusually hot, but it was hot and humid. You just go there, you needed a fan. That was something that was like, I wish I had a fan. Bring a hat. It's also an outdoor show, but it's a lot more compact in comparison. And even then, it didn't feel crowded to me. It was, there were people there, but you didn't feel like, sometimes in Tucson, you can feel like trying to drag your wagon behind other people and everyone else has their wagons around. It wasn't quite the same. There weren't as many wagons around. There was little like the upright dollies you would see, but even then it wasn't bad walking around. You still felt like you can swing your arms around. Another thing is the language barrier. And even though you can always survive, even if you don't know French, there's a lot of people who speak English, but I would suggest learning the bare minimum, like bonjour, good morning, good afternoon, hello, thank you, because in France, culturally, that's really valued. Before you ask any questions, before you do anything, always do a greeting and then proceed in English or French if you know it, because that really helps with opening up, having them be open to you because they care about that. And the difference between that and American shows is they care more about talking to you as a person. They asked more questions than I experienced in Tucson. They were like, where are you from? What's it like? They were willing to talk about politics, philosophy. And it was like, wow, I just stopping by to look around, and they had no expectations of purchasing. So that was another thing. Be prepared to have a slightly slower life. It was a little more chill. No, they had all day, even though the show was shorter. It was actually only open to the public for 2 days or 3 days, and the whole show in total was a week for vendors and buyers. You can be there a week maximum, compared to Tucson is like a month.
Yeah,
so
it was really hard.
So it was very compact. You felt like get in and like try to look around, but people didn't feel as rushed even with that short time span. So you might see people drinking wine in the middle of the day, talking to each other, how's your day? And it was totally okay to take that break. Another thing, part of that conversation wide is it was easier to network naturally because you could just make those connections if you really felt like, oh, hi. Like we actually had a couple vendors that we just ended up talking to and saying hi to as we went through the show. There was one lady from Germany who she asked us like, are we coming back? And let's, connect. And it was cool. Yeah. She would tell us all these stories. She said that she was actually one of the people that fought to keep the show in that city because it was actually going to move. So it was cool hearing about the history of that and how they just wanted to keep that picturesqueness in this city because it was a mining town. That's why that even started in the first place. So it was cool. But yeah, I would really suggest learning a little bit of French. There were some vendors who there was a language barrier. You can get around it. You can use Google Translate. But if you really wanted to ask questions, if you had any complicated asks, then a little bit of the language goes a long way. There were some people who spoke German. There was a lot of German speakers there. So it was very mixed. But so French and English were really helpful. It's just like being in a melting pot.
French and English. We speak English.
We speak English. We do speak English. So like with people from Germany, they spoke English, but the French vendors, it was like English some and then French.
Yeah.
So that was where it got helpful. So yeah, it felt like being in a melting pot, and you don't really experience that in the US of just hearing 5 different languages at once.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain started getting all kinds of languages mixed up. I would speak English, but then I would say words wrong. Like I would say nap and I would say nape because I'm just hearing all of these like
accents.
We came from London and then we went to France and then we're hearing French and then we're hearing people from Brazil. I don't know. My brain was like, what is happening?
Yeah. And as a key thing, another thing is I felt I was going to Sainte Marie for the experience less than for shopping.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the one making the main buying decisions, it really felt like you come here for the experience, for the people, and less for, I can only find these crystals here. Because a lot of it, depending on what you choose to purchase, you can maybe find that in Tucson. So you're more going to France for the vibe. It was just a pretty beautiful experience. You just go into the city. It's a small town. Get some lunch, walk around, smell the grassy air. It just felt like birds chirping. It was like, what is this? Like, it just felt like, ignoring the heat, it was like nature. I was in nature shopping for crystals. It felt more magical.
Yes, I think that's the word, is magical.
Yeah, it was more magical.
Very magical and charming. You could I would say that the Sainte Marie seems initially like huge, but
Yeah.
actually it's not that big. I would say it's maybe like 1 or 2 shows of Tucson combined.
Yeah.
But the main area where you're walking for, like, if you're just looking for crystals, like what we sell, that area was probably like one show
Yeah.
in Tucson.
Yeah, like going to one of the hotel shows.
Going to one of the hotels, maybe it's like a little bit bigger. It's like 1.5 of the shows.
Yeah.
I would say, like, with the amount of vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they have a separate area just for jewelry, but we didn't even get to that part.
We ran through that the last day.
Oh, we had 10 minutes. We were like, run, Samantha, let's get to the jewelry show.
Right. Like, I actually ran through, bought one thing 10 minutes before closing.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we're like, well...
That's the end. But one part of the show, it's like super magical, outdoors, very charming. The outside of the show is like these colorful buildings. If you follow my Instagram stories, you might have seen a little snippet. And then outside you have a cafe. And then inside, it's actually, the show is pretty, it's like a maze.
Yeah.
But it's like full of all these vendors from around the world, and then you look out and you take a break and you're like, it's the whole French countryside. And then there's another part of the show that's like
in a pool area. I forgot
there was a pool. There's that pool area, and around the pool area is like all these specimen pieces like behind the glass. But what I was gonna say is this other area is like in the middle. I don't even know what it was, a park or whatever. But you walk through the shows and it smelled like pine trees. That, like fresh pine trees. You don't get that in Tucson. Fresh pine trees. And I saw one vendor who had, like, instead of tables, he was using bushes. So he put his trays or his lots on top of these bushes. Like, that's how much in nature
you are.
That's how, like, magical the show is. It's like, it's the whole vibe of the show, and you're like in the French countryside in comparison to Tucson. And I would say the main difference, at least for me, was like when you talk to the vendors, like Samantha was saying, like, they're more willing to chat with you, to listen to how your day is going. How is the show? I want to hear about your life. And like, they like don't care. Like, they like, if you have crystals to buy, they're like, I want to talk to you first. Like, it's like being very present. I would say being present was the theme of the show. Like, it's like, I don't know, connecting heart to heart.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Heart to heart. Like, let's chat, let's talk. I want to hear what's going on. Before you shop for
example, there was one vendor that we talked to, and he was telling us about how it was his first show. He just started that year in January, and he actually lives nearby. He did it with his brother. He spoke English because he actually worked in the U.S. for a bit, but his brother only spoke French. And so it was just cool hearing his whole life story. And we just stopped at his booth for a bit, and then I actually, since I speak French, I talked to the brother, and he was just like, oh, sorry, my English is not good. I'm like, oh, I can speak a little French. And so once he heard that, he explained his whole thing, because he makes jewelry, and he was talking about how he finds it himself around where they live and the process. He even showed me pictures of his farm. I was just like, right?
He showed also the pictures of like the
giant petrified wood that
was like, how much? 200 kg, 2,000 kg. I don't even know how
I didn't even know what went into that, but he was just like, you have to dig, and sometimes it's days. This is a process of mining. You might not even find the crystals. And I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was talking to that another Spanish vendor, and he was telling me about, this is also a side note, very cool, because yes, there were vendors there who, I tried to find vendors who didn't go from, they didn't go to the U.S. They didn't go to the U.S.
Yeah.
They also could barely speak English.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see those and like see the different material that they had. So anyways, one of the vendors that I was talking to, he was just describing the mining process, and he was telling me he had been mining since he was 18.
Yeah.
And he was now like in his 50s. And I was like, dang, you really have to love that, because because that's like
A life.
that's like a whole
A lifetime.
I'm thinking like starting something when I was, I don't know, 18
Yeah.
and still doing it today. I think about, oh my God.
Right.
Anyways, so he was telling me that for mining, he was like, yeah, and it's just part of the process. You can go days in the hot heat, like, and you could not find anything. And then one day you find something, but it's just like you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You have to keep going because you love it so much.
Right.
Oh my God, it's a lesson. But
yeah, that is a lesson.
that is a lesson. But it was just so interesting to hear all these different stories and connect with different vendors around the world. And then have that connect back to like the pieces that I bought. You know, because I'll see the pieces and be like, wow, this is from that one vendor who was like, blah, blah, blah. or the people from Germany who like couldn't speak barely any English.
Yeah.
And then
there was for example, we were at one table and they only spoke German, but they also spoke Russian. And but their common language was German. And I was like, oh, we don't know any lick of German. So we were trying to gesture. He was trying to communicate to us. I was using Google Translate to ask things like, but what is the weight?
What's the price?
And so we're like using gestures. It was like you just do what you have to do in order to communicate, and the person who spoke English was at another table, so they had to come over. It was fun. I love it.
It was fun. It was an adventure. It's just it's so different. I feel like
you have to have that open adventure spirit to kind of embrace that you are experiencing something completely different. You just have to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's just a new story.
Let's talk about what it took to get there.
Yeah. It was a trek. Now, for us, it might not be the same story as what everyone else had to do to get there, but we took a train we took a flight and then a train and then a taxi and then a bus and then another.
Wait, you missed the first train.
Okay, and the first train to get to the taxi. That then took us to another train.
No, we like started in London. And then we had to take a train.
Okay, so then that was like, 3 trains. So we were in London to get over our jet lag. And then we took a train to the airport. Then we took a plane. And then we landed.
We didn't even... Yeah.
And then after that, we took a taxi into town from the airport to take a train down to get our rental car.
And the taxi was like $70.
For 15 minutes.
For a 15-minute drive.
And it was no AC.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing, no AC. Just instead, the windows were down a little bit and that was it. But we were burning 90 degrees. Take a train, no AC. And
the AC was like broken.
Yeah, it wasn't because they never have AC. It was like their AC was broken, and so we had to switch trains. And then continue our journey down to get our rental car. And then get to where we were staying. We landed. No, we took the train.
We can't even get it right.
This was more of a mess than it had to be. But took the train, and then we took a bus to the airport to get our car.
To the rental car. And you guys, when we got to the airport,
nobody was there.
No one was there. It said they were open until
like 11
p.m. at night, and we got there at like 7:30.
Like 7. I don't
know what time we got there.
14. I remember because when they put that sign that says actually we close at 8, I was like, we are here a good hour before. And then we were wandering up and down looking for somebody. And then we finally find someone who says, hey, you're not on the list for the reservations. And so we're like,
you had to, okay, listen, tip number, don't even know. But if you are renting a car in Europe, sometimes they want to close early because they feel like it. Which is totally,
especially in France.
It's the vibe, right?
Right.
So if you find out that your plane, train, whatever is going to be delayed, and you need to rent a car, you need to make sure that you call the desk
Right.
and make a contract with them, something online. I don't know.
Yeah, they said call, and I say that because I actually emailed them several days before, hoping that the customer service would see the email and route it with enough time, but they didn't see the email and they didn't respond. And they're like, you should have called the desk. So I was like, but I'm overseas and that's an international number, which means then I'd have to make an international call, which not all your phones can do that. You'd have to either do like $1 a minute or use a certain service. So it's like, how was I
Basically,
supposed to know?
don't know, but make
never
sure
know.
that you like somehow
Get
take
through to
care
them.
of it. Take care of it before 2:00, because otherwise they're gonna leave, and then you get there at night and they're like, we don't have a car for you. Sorry. And then
Right.
our Airbnb was 2 hours away, and I knew that this location, like this, wherever this show was, wherever our Airbnb was, I knew it was going to be driving in the countryside in windy roads. So I was like trying to get back before it was super dark, before we had to drive in the dark. And so basically what we had to do was walk over to Switzerland, which is not a joke. It sounds like a joke.
We walked to
walked to
Switzerland
Switzerland.
from France
Yeah.
to
for
get
France.
another rental car
Yeah.
because ours was closed. So they said,
Yeah.
you're going to have to rent one for one night, drive 2 hours, drive 2 hours back to return it, and then get your
next
original
morning.
car. Yeah, the next day.
Yeah, and because it was like a impromptu, non-scheduled, they were like, the only car we have is this super nice BMW.
Right.
And at that point, you guys, we had been traveling, plane,
day.
train, under the underground, upstairs, downstairs, turn around,
Right.
hot,
With our
dehydrated,
suitcases.
hungry, with our
That too.
suitcases, walking around trying to find this mystery drop
Desk.
box
Yeah.
key drop. I don't know. And so I said, you know what, Samantha, we're done.
Yeah.
I said, Samantha, we're just gonna have to rent this car, because the rental car guy was like, you can either rent
a
a hotel and like
for the night.
for the night. Who
And then
knows?
get your car the next day, or you take this. Because he's like, it's really pricey. So it might be cheaper to just get a hotel for the night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at that point, it was like, cut the show.
Cut the show.
We're done. Okay.
We're done. I mean, Samantha was prepared to go at least another 2 hours, because she was like, we could transfer to another airport and transfer our contract. And I was like, Samantha, we need to get back before it turns dark.
Right.
And it did turn dark, and we drove in the dark. But thankfully, the BMW had
Light.
some nice fancy lights to
and
light the way.
cruise control.
And cruise control that matched the speed limit.
Right.
So yeah, basically that night we just had beef jerky and
Dried mango.
sad girl dinner.
Right. Because on top of the desk closing early,
Yes.
like a thing in France is that especially in more rural areas, the restaurants, stores in general close early. And on top of that, you can't even rely on the time of their closing, because they might just feel like leaving early. So we were just like, is there any food? And it was like, no.
Yeah, I was driving and Samantha was mapping us to like this grocery store. I didn't even know where she was mapping us, but I'm like driving somewhere. And then we like park in this parking lot. And I'm like, what are we doing, Samantha? And she's like, we're at the grocery store. And I was like, it's closed.
Right. This grocery store is supposed to be open until 10:30, 11. Mm-hmm. Pitch black.
And it was like, what,
Huge.
8, 9 p.m. by that time? Yeah.
It was funny. We were just like, okay, I guess we're just going to survive on the snacks I brought
Right.
from London, from the US.
Yeah.
So
that was the start of our trip. So you guys, the like theme, our whole, what's it called, saying, motto, whatever,
just go with the flow.
is we're doing our best.
We're doing our best.
Guys, you know what? We're doing our best.
Yeah, we said that a lot.
We said that a lot because it's like so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Which like, yeah, it's just so unpredictable. You have to have the, I don't know, the type of personality. What kind of personality? You can't be like,
You have to just take what you're given and then just go, okay, how do we move forward? You just have to put one foot in front of the other and say, okay, plans change. So what are we doing now? These are our only options. So let's see what the best option with this. Okay, it's going to be an hour delay for this, or oh, this is actually closed. What do we do now? So
we do our best.
yeah, you just have to do your best.
Yeah.
And also plan on the fly.
Also, there's like for the rental car situation that happened where it closed early. We didn't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. There were no rentals cars open. That whole situation, one of us could have blown up badly.
Right.
But our personalities aren't like
Or
that.
meltdown city.
It could have been Meltdown City. But
yeah,
we were both just like, okay, how do we solve this? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset that you have to have is like, how do we move
how
forward?
do we just move forward so we can get to the next plan, the next part of the plan as best as possible? How do we salvage
And then also, like, driving
the
let's talk
roundabouts?
We almost died, you guys.
So also another thing is as far as I know, in the U.S. they don't have roundabouts
They
here.
have roundabouts, but not like that
Like
many
driving roundabouts like that. Okay, true. There are little roundabouts, but not like the huge ones that we have to deal with in France. And there's probably even bigger ones. And so we're driving and it's like 2-lane roads, 1-lane road, sometimes like one way for both oncoming and going traffic. So you have to make sure there's not a car coming in the opposite direction. And then you have to like watch out for get onto the roundabout, count the third exit, because Google Maps
You have to count.
doesn't
you guys.
actually pronounce the street correctly, and the street name isn't actually on the sign. So
It doesn't match.
right. So then you just have to rely on the third exit, and then you just have to count 1, 2, 3. Because sometimes the exit looks like an entrance and the entrance looks like an exit. So we had to get good at like, okay. And then if you just miss it, just go back around. It's like it's okay. Just go back around and count all over again so that you can, make your way down a certain highway. And our trick that we learned is that paying attention to the number instead of the name worked out better. So if it was like exit 59, Sainte Marie or Sandier or something, it's like, okay, just do 59 because those words might not even be anywhere in sight.
Yeah,
anywhere.
but even sometimes they didn't have the numbers on it.
Yeah, and then we just have to go back to counting. Counting is the most reliable.
The best.
And then we started counting. I was teaching Estine a little bit of French, so we'd be like, okay, third exit, 1, 2, 3. But we survived. It's actually not bad driving there. They're on the same side as in the US, so you don't have to worry about like going the wrong direction and turning down a wrong road. Mm-hmm. Besides the names, Google Maps was pretty good at everything else and directing you somewhere where cars can actually go.
Yeah. Oh, my advice though would be to like just try and get back before the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not
as familiar
or
used to driving in pitch black. Like it's like the countryside where there's no lights at night. So
it's like you're gonna see the stars.
Yeah, you'll see the stars, which is pretty, but also you're gonna be potentially, if you don't have your lights on and if you're not paying attention, you could be going down a dirt road, you could be going into a field.
Yeah. Remember though when they had detours at night? All of a sudden,
and all these detours too.
At nighttime they decide to close off roads too.
Yeah. So then we're like, okay, so do we go this other way? And the other detour happens to be some dirt, super narrow road, trees, so it's even darker. It's like a horror movie city if you thought if you were thinking in that direction, or it could be more like, I'm pretty sure everyone's just quietly sleeping and we're just like chugging through.
We're like, Samantha!
Like,
we turn,
yeah.
the roundabout,
When's the exit? When's the exit? Stop.
Oh
like,
my God.
Like if you just heard what we were like in the cars.
Direction.
That too. There was
We
certain mishaps.
did.
We totally didn't do anything illegal, but we were always as safe as possible.
Yes. Okay, so my advice though to like prevent all of our shenanigans would be to so let me go back and rewind, because the reason why we had to take the train and the plane and the car and the
Right.
blah 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 was because the airport that we flew in was Strasbourg, and we needed to rent a car, but then we also had to fly out of Basel, which is near Switzerland.
Yeah.
But the reason why we were doing the plane, train, car situation was because when we landed at Strasbourg, if we rented a car from Strasbourg but dropped it off at Basel, they charge you an extra $800 or something.
Yeah,
for the
800
rental.
euros.
800 euros. So it's like
imagine, and this is just for
$1,000.
example, the whole week would have been like 100 something euros, and then they add $1,000 on top of that. It's like
for driving it to the other.
For driving it to the other airport. It's only 2 hours away. Like, I know per hour, like, you guys are... It to me, it was like, this is a scam.
Yeah, when I was booking, I was like, Samantha, she was like, absolutely not. We are not doing that.
Like, I could take a taxi there.
A taxi, a train to get to something else besides the rental car. But what ended up happening was we basically ended up spending the same amount as
because they closed early.
And
we had to get that expensive car.
So take that information with
as you will. Now, I would say to avoid something like that, if you have more wiggle room in terms of when you needed to leave, but because I had to leave on a certain day, you can maybe push your dates out so that you can get a flight in and out, and it works.
Of Basel?
Because we couldn't... So the reason why we actually had to leave out of Basel instead of Strasbourg is because we needed to get to a certain airport back at London. And London has like 5 different airports, and we needed to do Heathrow because Estine was leaving through Heathrow, and flying into a different airport and then running over there so that Estine could make her flight would have been so chaotic. So I was thinking, do we want chaos in the beginning or at the end? And I was figuring chaos at the beginning is probably better than like trying to get back to the US and having to do all that like chaos. That I feel like would be more stressful. So that was our situation. But if you can move it so that you don't have to leave on that same day, and so you can have like just leaving from one airport, then
just leave from one airport.
Yeah, try to make it work. Yeah,
because otherwise. A hot mess. Literal hot mess. Express.
Yeah.
Like, I was sweating in that train.
It was hot. It was boiling.
Yeah.
It was 90 degrees. It was a heat wave also. And they're like, oh, it's usually not this hot.
Oh my God.
That was the theme of the week. Everyone was like, it's usually not this bad.
Someone asked, though, like in our Q&A questions, what's worse, Asia or France?
I personally would say Asia because the humidity is like on 100. And that's where, for me, you're just sweating through your shirt and everything. And it's hot outside, like 90 degrees plus 80% humidity. And then it rains. And so it's even higher percentage of humidity. But in France, it was slightly humid, like 55%, compared to maybe a drier air of the US, like for us. And then you can just at least, it's like a little drier so you can kind of fan yourself off. But in Asia, the wetness is not going anywhere, basically. I prefer dry heat.
I've only been, so I can't really compare. I've only been to like Bali, like Thailand area for Asian. But I don't know. France to me was, I almost literally, no joke, like I almost passed out 4 times.
Yeah.
At least. Like,
and I didn't even realize. I was just like,
Samantha's having conversations with vendors, and here I am, like, the light is closing in. I'm like, and I'm like, I have to go outside. Because there's like 2 parts of the show. There's outside tents,
Yeah.
and then there's 2 indoor buildings. At least for like the area where there's like gemstone crystals, not the jewelry side. But okay, so there's 2 buildings, and if you go in the inside buildings, they don't have AC.
Yeah.
And so we were, talking. Samantha's like, yeah. All of a sudden, boom, hits me. And I'm like, oh, wow.
And it's muggy in there.
Yeah, it's like rows and rows and rows of vendors, rows and rows of people. So it's stuffy. There's like less airflow.
Yeah.
And there's no breeze and no wind. So yeah, that was hot.
Yeah. So then you have to go outside, drink water.
Yeah.
Get some fresh air.
Go outside, buy water, because at that point had to buy.
Yeah.
They only had refill stations though, for water refill stations for a few days, for the few hot days. But then when it wasn't,
and then they're
so
like,
hot,
sorry,
you
have to buy the water.
Yeah,
because it was like, okay, we don't want people collapsing out here. So when it was those super hot heat wave days, they had the refill stations, and they also had these misting stations that people would stand under, kind of like if you go to Disneyland, like that.
Yeah.
And then after the heat wave was over and it was more like, you'll live, then they're like, okay, we want to support the community, buy the water, please, and, buy the food. So it was like, okay, understandable.
Also, it's probably like, we don't want to be responsible for any kind of deaths.
Right, exactly.
Because you guys, it was like heat stroke version. I mean, I don't know, at least for me. To prepare, if you go and it's hot, like, bring a fan.
And a fan.
Bring a hat. Bring a water bottle, and bring electrolytes. Like, you make sure you have electrolytes. That saved me. I probably had like 4 servings of electrolytes a day, but when I usually drink 1. So
be prepared.
Be prepared. That's the real talk. On top of that, when it was super hot, it's almost really hard to shop for crystals too.
Yeah.
It is really hard. And the crystals are so hot.
Yeah, not only is it hot, so you're kind of just like boiling and distracted. When you touch the crystals that have been in the sun, it felt like you're trying to take cookies out of the oven with your bare hands. It was like, ouch, you can't even pick it up. Yeah. And so sometimes you're like, how much does that weigh? And then they touch it and they're like, oh, this is hot.
Yeah.
Because they don't have protection either. So you're just like, okay, we'll wait for these to cool down before we get anything. So then you're just going around looking at as cool of crystals as possible. The ones in the shade were still warm. Yeah. So at least that was another thing.
Maybe you have to bring oven mitts at that point to the show.
Yeah, like you need like some like mitt gloves.
Finger mittens.
Yeah. So that you could pick them up, because I don't know how they did it.
Once again,
little things that just, you're thinking shopping outside, it'd be a vibe, and it was. Yeah. And then when the weather comes in, and then it did rain a little bit, like one day.
But it wasn't even. It didn't even cool it down that much.
Yeah, it was just hot. Yeah. But wet, and that was it. But
I don't even remember.
And then it continued on its day, continued to be sunny, and then it was still like the crystals were still hot.
Yeah, so I would say that the heat made it difficult, and it was again another situation of like, guys, or it was like, Samantha, you know what? I'm doing my best. And like also, because I normally have more time to like source for you guys, but this time was shorter. Yeah. And the physical body was
more exhausted.
Yeah. Again, just do your best.
Yeah. You just figure things out as you go. Like, and despite all the stories you may hear, we really did as much preparation as we thought we needed.
Like
You might be
what?
thinking that we were like Hot Mess Express, but we looked up the rental car, and we looked up when I looked up the rental car, I had communicated with them well ahead to figure out like how does this work. I was thinking I'm good. They responded to my first email that was 3 months before the trip. So I was like, okay, so they actually respond to email. So then when I actually needed to reschedule and I heard nothing, I was like, uh-oh. Okay, we were already in London at that point. So it was like things like that. We had mapped, we actually mapped what's the best location to stay, and driving. We looked on Google Maps to figure out like, is this even reasonable? Can we even do it? So you just have to do as much planning as possible. There's also sometimes in other countries, they have different street signs that might be like, you cannot drive down here. So I wanted to look those up. So little things like that, you want to try to research on. But besides that, you can only do so much when the internet betrays you. And the information is not what it says. Then you just have to be prepared, maybe bring some extra snacks if things end up being
for
closed.
sure. Bring extra snacks. Yeah. Also, the thing is like, I think it's like hard to get a hotel that's close to the show. Like technically, I don't know if we talked about this. I can't remember, but
I don't think so. But the vendors, so the city that the show is in, Sainte Marie, they have some areas that people could stay in, but because the vendors guaranteed need to go there, it's probably a high chance that they will already book for the year ahead for the next show. So it's not a likely chance that you'll be able to just stay in the city and just walk to the show, though there is an area, another city that they say they have a shuttle to go to the show from if you care to not drive. But besides that, you just have to figure it out. And that's why we decided to rent a car, because we'd have more options for our hotel or Airbnb.
yeah, I mean, like if you got an Airbnb, I was telling Samantha, can you imagine if we got an Airbnb and waited for the bus? Like,
Right.
who knows when the bus is coming?
That too. After everything else that happened, we're like, okay, is the bus gonna be late?
Oh, that was another thing. Also, like prepare if you see a place to eat in this area, basically eat.
Yeah.
Like you eat when
They're open.
They're open.
Yeah, you can't say, I'm not hungry. Let me just wait until I'm hungry. There might not be any place open by the time you're hungry. So you either get something to go for later, or you go to the supermarket while it's open and buy snacks and food for sandwiches or something to prepare ahead of time.
Yeah, because the hours, it's like open in the morning, closed at 12, open again at what, 2:30 to 3?
Right, yeah.
Closed at 6, 7, who knows? So basically eat when you
eat when it's open. When you see they're open, go eat.
yeah. That's like when your parents tell you when you're a kid, you're gonna eat now.
Right, and you're like, I'm not hungry. Yeah, exactly.
Too bad.
And then you decide, by the time you go to eat food, you're like, now it's nothing. Now
Yeah. Oh my God. Wait, let's tell them about how we went to go eat at that one restaurant and it was haunted.
Oh, yeah. So one time after the show, we wanted to go to a restaurant close by just to try. I wanted to try like French food. And we went to this place, and there were a lot of like trucks. So I thought there was like a truck stop nearby. And so we went in, and there weren't many people there, and they sat us in the back that had a lot of chairs. We were the only people in there. So lots of chairs. It was a little dark, and we were the only people in there. And the air felt to me, it felt still. Like when we were just in there sitting by ourselves, looking at the menu, it felt like strangely quiet and a little heavy. And I was like, I wonder what this is. It's just, we're the only ones in here. Maybe that's what I'm feeling. And then Estee's like, I think there's something.
I'm like, you guys. I'm like sitting. Samantha's like, oh, who knows what Samantha's doing, but she's like trying to decide what's at the menu. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't even focus right now because the energy in there was so heavy. And it's almost like as if I was swaying back and forth. Like my energy was like swaying back and forth. That's how it felt. And it felt as if somebody was like standing by my shoulder, but like pushing on my energy field, but they like weren't allowed. So I'm pushing back, if that makes any kind of sense. And it was like this back and forth, pushing back and forth. I don't know. And I was like, oh my God, I can't concentrate. And Samantha was like, I was like, Samantha, do you feel something? You see anything in here? And she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah.
It's because so the menus they gave us were in French. So I was trying to figure out what to eat. And also, since I'm gluten intolerant, I was trying to figure out, is there anything that's gluten-free on here? So I was just busy trying to figure out what's on the menu and what can I eat and what's interesting to try. And then Estine's like, what?
Oh yeah. And then we find out that
we decide to do the reading. After Estine tells me, do you feel that? I decide to read into it. And I was like, oh, this is like the ancestors of the people who currently own the restaurant. And they are just here watching. They're not ready to leave, but they just want to keep watch. So they're not here to harm. But I was just like, interesting.
Oh, I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah, and then after that, I did a, like, let's see what energies do you get. But yeah, so as a extra context, because afterwards I looked up what the meaning of the restaurant meant, and apparently the restaurant was founded after the original owner's two sons died in World War II. So I was like, oh. Okay, no wonder.
So basically, both of us had to do a lot of energy work while we were there.
Yeah. And before we even got to the reading, I decided to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
that's when I was like, you know what? I had the feeling of, do not look over your shoulder. Don't look over your shoulder. There were two bathrooms, and I just had the urge to not look into one of the bathrooms. That was like the door was ajar, and I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just gonna stick to washing my hands and getting out before I see something. Yeah. And then I went back, and then we did the reading.
Yeah. Wait, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was so like
Estine was already like, oh my God.
I was like busy opening doorways, clearing energy, protecting our space. Which, by the way, if you're like freaked out listening to this, you always are protected. You are always protected, and you are always like in your like just stay in your power. And
yeah, they can't harm you. It's just more a feeling. Like if you're not used to the feelings, then it might feel unsettling, and you might be worried like, oh, what's gonna happen? But you're not gonna.
You're so powerful. Yeah, you're in charge. Just stand in your power.
And they're not gonna follow you home. Yeah, like in the movies, or they somehow you pick up something, and then next thing you know, you have a entity in your house or something. It's just we were just like, what should we do about it? And so we decided to try to clear it. And I also left a doorway open for them when they decided they were ready to leave. Because sometimes if they're not ready to leave, you don't want to force a spirit who's like, I'm not ready to move on yet.
People know what doorways are. Can you explain?
So a doorway, the type of doorway we're talking about is when whenever you hear the go towards the light type of trope with ghosts and they're ready to move on to their next life. It's that type of doorway that we open up where it's a door to the light. And if a spirit who's either has something they haven't settled with yet, or they just don't know how to move on, or they're confused, we can help guide them to a doorway to the light where they can then choose to move on and move on to their next iteration or whatever. But sometimes they're not ready. Even if you have the door open for them, they might feel like I still have something unresolved. So that's where I might have a spirit guide or an angel stay with them until they're ready, and they can close the door behind them.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Estee Podcast. If you love this episode and want to stay connected, come hang out with us on Instagram at estee.crystals, because that is where the party continues. You'll be able to find a like-minded community and get to hang out with us in real time during our live sales. It's also a place where you just might find the perfect crystal that's meant for you. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave a review, share it with a friend, or pop into my DMs and say hi, because I'd love to hear from you.